chain, according to Morgan Stanley. A large share of those additions could come from India, should it reach its goal of having 100 gigawatts of nuclear power capacity by 2047, when it aims to reach energy self-reliance. Now, this panel has quite a few experts. Let me quickly introduce them. To my left is Yegor Kwiatkowski, the Director General of Rosatom International Network. It's embarrassing that I can't say last name given my last name, but thank you very much for joining us today.
Mhm.
Also is Sama Bilbao-Leon, the Director General for the World Nuclear Association. And to her left is Niraj Agrawal, the President of Nuclear Power at JSW Energy. Let's just get right to it. Thank you again for joining me today. Sama, let's start with you. Could you please sort of set the stage and give us your view on the state of nuclear power in India and what we should expect going forward?
Okay, well, thank you, Stephen. And I think it's very exciting to be in India at India Energy Week at a very historical moment in India. As you know, maybe it's been a month or so since the Shanti Bill was passed in India, which actually is a watershed moment for nuclear opportunities in India. So we are going to see the opportunity to have private players, international players in the market in India. So this is going. I mean, and of course, this comes in the tails of the great ambition that, as you all know, India has for nuclear. The goal is to have all the way from the 8 gigawatts that we have more or less today to 100 by 2047. So the ambition of India is enormous. But let me put these numbers in perspective because our numbers, Stephen, are a little bit different than yours. So just last week, during Davos, we actually launched the World Nuclear Outlook report that provides a status update of where nuclear growth is expected at a global level. So our numbers, taking into account number one, the extension of the existing nuclear fleet, that most of the existing reactors are going to go to 60, many of them to 80 years. Essentially, the majority of the fleet that we have today, over 400 gigawatts of energy, of capacity, will continue to be operating in 2050. But on top of that, in addition to the 70 reactors that are currently under construction, all the ones that are planned, proposed, and then taking into account the goals that over 50 countries all over the world have for new nuclear, we are already adding all the way to 40, it's more than 1,400 gigawatts of total nuclear capacity by 2050. So this is more than triple the existing capacity that we have right now. And I mean, this is not going to be linear. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of a initial slower growth, and then it's going to go more a little bit faster. And yes, definitely India is going to be one of the countries where this growth is going to be enormous, because if we are saying triple nuclear at a global level, but in India we are looking 10 times the existing capacity, right? So the ambition is even bigger. So that's a little bit the picture. And maybe just to close, to give everybody a little bit of a perspective. So you were talking about the revival of nuclear. I would say that nuclear has never left. Nuclear has always been here. As you know, nuclear energy is and has been for more than 5 decades, 10% of more of the global electricity production. And of course, in this point in history where we have, complex geopolitical situation, every country in the world is looking at energy security, energy independence, and nuclear energy, of course, plays a very important role. And then, of course, the other two areas is, yes, sustainability. If we are trying to meet Paris Agreement goals and sustainability goals in a timely, cost-effective, and equitable manner, nuclear energy, once again, is something that many countries are looking into. And last, but certainly not least, is competitiveness, socioeconomic development, prosperity, quality of life that requires abundant, affordable, 24/7 clean energy. And this is where many countries are looking at nuclear once again.
What a great overview. Thank you for that. And it's a good segue also. You mentioned India 10-fold increase over the next few decades. I want to go to you, Niraj, just to get your view. Why do you think it's essential for India to accelerate to such a degree for nuclear power?
Yeah, actually, if you are aware, today India is a developing country, and our goal is to become a developed country by 2047. Once you want to go to developed country, our per capita power consumption, which is around 1500 kilowatt hour, it has to become minimum 4000 to 4500 kilowatt hours. So we need lot of power. Now we have another goal. We want to become carbon free by 2070. So we have to only go to non-fossil fuels. And in non-fossil fuel, what we are looking for a clean power, available 24 by 7, base load operation, and a competitive price. So nuclear fits the bill. Other than nuclear, this wind and solar, today they are intermittent. Maybe along with battery storage, they will may become like this. So along with nuclear, these things together, not against, together we can work together. So if we have to become developed, if we have to become carbon neutral, nuclear is, I think, only option which is there with us. And technologically, we have proven in India that we are capable of making power plants. We have the technology, but we are going a bit slow. Now, with the Shanti Bill introduction and private sector participation, sector's management skills will come, their funds will come. So definitely we can accelerate and we can have the nuclear power.
I'm going to ask you more on that in a minute, but let's quickly go to Yegor here to just talk about, you know, partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Strategic partnerships, especially in nuclear energy, from what I've seen, at least across this region, has been really key to building things forward. With the Shanti Bill changing, of course, but based on Rosatom's global portfolio of projects, your ongoing Kudankuram project in India. What key principles should guide these partnerships as they try to come into this country?
Thank you so much for this question. The partnership and cooperation between Russia and India and Rosatom in India started many, many years before this day. And India is now one of our major strategic partner. And our cooperation, of course, it's not only in case of Kudankulam. In early 2001, Rosatom and Russia Federation, in case of embargo, in time of embargo, nuclear embargo, help India and deliver to um, two parts of fuel pellets to India. It was very important for both countries. And then we try to divide and to develop our partnership and our cooperation based on Kudankulam experience, based on our global portfolio. We formulate some basic principles for us and for our partners, and these principles help us to promote and development nuclear infrastructure, not only power plant, but infrastructure in general in our partners' countries. Uh, like a first principle, and from my side, I think it's one of the most one, try to shift from so-called one-off project to a fleet mode. So it is a principle of typicalization of nuclear power plants and nuclear units. It's help you like a vendor, it's help your partner like a country to unify all the process, all the supply chain, all the producers and type of equipment that you use, and of course try to reduce the cost of capital cost, operational cost, and in the final stage to try to lower the energy price for consumers. It's very important and for us and for our partners as well. And of course, using unified design like VVR 1000 or VVR 1200 is more important. Try to use the typical one units, typical one projects, one by one. Of course, we try to organize infrastructure synergy. I mean, we try to use local producer, local consumer, local industry, and involve them in our chain. Of course, there are two goals. Is the first one, like for us, for vendor, it's we try to reduce the costs, and for country, we are interested that not only Rosatom, for example, or someone else will be interested in this project. We are more than welcome when country and any kind of companies will be interested in cooperation and construction of nuclear power plant. Of course, the second principle is integrated lifetime life cycle solution. So we're not only about how to build nuclear power plants. Of course, the timeline of using power plants is 60 till 80 and not more years. And all these times we're in country, we support our partners in human resources and learning and training. We support with fuel supply, of course, service, and so on and so forth. So when we come to country, we not just build a station, we organize just a sector of economy, of energy, of course, involving all interested of this cooperation, and we are interested in common an overall partnership with this country for all this century. As we discussed with you and with some before, it's not about the political issue, it's for people, for humanity, for century, for our children, and so on. Um, the third principle, we take it a little bit, it's about localization. Now we try to localize as much as possible. And when I speak about India, we are more than welcome the program Make in India, because it support us, it support local producers, and it's win-win situation for all of us. The main issue to find their more efficient way to how to localize, where to localize, and what kind of system and equipment. When we build Kudankulam from 1 to 6 units, we step by step go to this stages of localization, from something very simple to something very advanced and technology useful. So now we are more than open. And for us, the Shanti Bill, it's not only about the private company who will operate, for example, or own. For us, it's also opportunity to involve private company in sphere of localization, because we think that Shanti Bill will support them as well. So we are absolutely more than welcome. And the fourth principle is about the we call it multi technology. So in our portfolio, we have VVR, like big sized reactor that can provide the base load for energy system. But more than all, we have SMR, landed or floated. So the VVR, it's like the solution when you need to solve the situation with lack of energy in big size. And when you have some kind of remote territory or some islands, the best way, of course, is SMR loaded, base load, or sorry, land base or floating. So our understanding that with our partner, we need to discuss all the portfolio and try to find the best solution, uh, for base load, for geography and territory location. So it's principle that we need to correlate with geographical and political and demographical issues in each country as well.
And the Shanty Bill, essentially, that opens the door for all of that, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. We are more than appreciated. So we are more than welcome. I think not only we like Rosatom, I think my colleagues as well. We are more than
Definitely.
welcome. Big private companies from Indian side. Uh, Hopefully, next big conference, not only us will be on this stage. We are more than welcome the private sector of Indian nuclear industry and machinery.
Sure, and they come and are open up talks to buy reactors now that now that the Shanty Bill makes that possible. That would be a huge opportunity for
Absolutely,
Rosatom. And
you're absolutely right.
I mean, from our point of view, I mean, as you know, World Nuclear Association has been working in India for many years. This actually is our 25th anniversary, so we are very excited. Yes,
congratulations.
yes, yes. So we've been following always what is happening in India. But as you said, and Diego and Naresh mentioned, um, this Shanti Bill, it is a great opportunity to bring the world of, I mean, the global nuclear industry into India, but also for the nuclear industry in India to join the rest of the world. I mean, as you know, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, well, there is this enormous opportunity for nuclear energy at a global level. This is going to require, well, quite a bit of rebuilding of the industrial capabilities, rebuilding supply chains, workforce, etc. And clearly, there is plenty of very fast, fascinating, fantastic know-how and capabilities in India that will also be. I mean, it's a great opportunity for them to join the global nuclear industry.
And that's a great segue to go to Niraj for a moment. What is, could you describe in some way the roadmap for JSW for nuclear? And India wants to build 100 gigawatts of capacity, or wants to have that much capacity online by 2047. What role will JSW play in that?
Actually, government mandate is that we should be having 100 gigawatt by nuclear.
Hmm.
Out of this 100 gigawatt, 50 gigawatt NPCL
Yeah,
is planning to build. Another 30 gigawatt NTPC is planning to build.
sure.
So 20 gigawatt as a minimum is up for grabs for the private sector. And we at JSW Energy, we also have a lot of captive requirements,
Mhm.
like our steel plant, Vijayanagar. Our captive requirement is 1.4 gigawatt itself, single plant. Plus, we also sell power commercially.
Right.
So we are looking at different technologies. One of them is PSWR. We are actively studying and analyzing 700 megawatt PSWR plant because for that plant, ecosystem exists in India. We have the vendors who are ready, engineering is ready, regulator is ready.
Right.
So we are generally ready for that. Along with that, we are also looking at different possible technologies which we can get from abroad. If those technologies are able to provide us economies of scale and give us a power at a competitive price so that we are able to commercially sell the power, then we are open to that. We are talking to different vendors. It is not right for me to say their names.
Oh,
So
it's
we are,
unfortunate.
so we are have a big plan actually, big plan.
But when
Maybe
you,
another our construction will start after 3 to 4 years because getting the land,
Mhm.
getting a lot of approvals is taking a lot of time. We are eagerly and very vigorously following up the nuclear roadmap.
Sorry, the journalist in me is dying to ask a few follow-up questions, so
Yeah,
apologies. But I'm just curious. So it sounds like these 20 gigawatts up for grabs. Is that separate from the captive, or is the captive part of those 20 gigawatts as well?
government says minimum you make 20 gigawatt. You can make
Yeah.
as much as you want.
And when you're talking captive, that means that we could see some steel plants, nuclear-powered steel
Yeah,
plants in
because
India.
we have to have a green steel.
Yeah.
We have to export my steel to European countries. So I have to have a green steel.
Right.
So
So
that was a primary goal which we started at JSW.
right.
But finally now we are opening up for commercial availability of power to the market.
And when you're talking about these reactors from abroad, this technology, are we talking, large, 700, 1,200 megawatt?
We are looking at two technologies. One is 1000 megawatt and above,
Yeah,
like 1200 or 1400. We are talking about that. Plus we are also looking at SMRs because some of our plants are located remotely
right.
and our requirement is 200, 250, 300 megawatt.
But if,
So their SMR will fit into that. So when we are talking at JSW, we have a complex vision or a very clear vision from our point of view.
yeah,
We want to go for PSWR, definitely, some imported reactor and SMR. So mix of that only will make us achieve our goal.
uh, that's really interesting. I'm excited to hear more about it as the years progress. Yegor, I just grilled him on his vision for India. Could I ask you to describe what your vision is for Rosatom's vision for India as well, as a nice little segue right there? Ooh, wait.
Yeah, yeah, great. I think the best position that I heard for today, the following, the previous, I mean, why that's the best, and one it's correlated with our understanding of vision, how it can be in India. Very ambitious goals from uh, from India to India and to us as well. And from our side, it's not the question how to take as much as possible in India. Uh, our position try to organize and not just our like Rosatom, I mean some as well in cooperation in all vendors this. We need to find the best way, like a global vendor community, how to meet this requirement and these goals of India for today. Which kind of technology, which kind of reactors, how many, I don't know, Russian, French, USA, it does
Right.
not matter. We need to find the best mix of technologies. We like Rosatom, we are also try to have a mix approach in Russia and in other partners countries. So we're not about to try too much as possible pie as we can. It's not the way, absolutely. Um, the cooperation should be, and we also discussed with you previously that now it's not the century of uh, one type, one technology, instead of, I don't know, something like consortium. We are more than welcome about something cooperative with some kind of uh, European, Chinese, I don't know, other technologies and part of equipment. So it's century of cooperation, absolutely, because no one company and no one country who can realize and who can meet the goals that now India see for them. And we like cooperation. We are more than welcome to cooperate with India in governmental sector, private sector, in case of big, small, land-based, floating, and so on and so far. For us, India, it is a strategic partner in case of nuclear, in case of near nuclear technology, something like nuclear medicine, sterilization, or decontamination, and depends. And we try to develop our cooperation around the nuclear about some production technologies like 3D printing, like uh, energy. Energy safe solution, for example, it's more than important when you try to build the great energy system like 10 or more gigawatt. So it's time to common multi cooperation.
That's I mean, it really sounds like it's a marriage in a way. When you kind of set this up, you
You're
can't
right.
just you have to make sure the relationship works if you want to sell them a reactor, SMR, or something
Mhm.
like that.
As we speak before, when you realize some project like Kudankulam, both parties, both sides understand that they are together for the century. It's more than marriage.
More than marriage.
More than
That's really
most
intense.
marriages,
Most
yes.
Well,
marriages, yeah.
on that ominous note, Sama, I want to just quickly jump to you. You know, we talked about, I think everyone on this panel has said very positive things about the Shanty bill. I'm going to turn things very negative now. Are there things that could be done? What more could be done on the policy side? Are there still hurdles that exist? Are there still things that you would suggest to the Indian government to look at or to revise?
Well, I think that the Indian government has given a first hugely enormous step that is very positive. As I say, I mean, for a very long time, the Atomic Energy Act and the liability laws in India were a very big hurdle for other players. So this Shanti law is a very, very big positive signal to all kinds of private players in India and abroad to come to India. But you are right. I mean, the trick now is how this is going to be implemented,
Yeah.
right? So the details are going to be very important. And of course, there is additional things that can be done to incentivize private investment. And when I say private investment, there is several pieces, right? Yes, it is the financial mechanisms that
Mhm,
are going to be used to actually invest
mhm,
to fund these nuclear power plants, but also it is the revenue mechanisms. So things like are the markets, the electricity markets, going to be realigned
mhm,
in order to recognize the value that nuclear energy bring to electricity grids, for
mhm,
example? Or are there going to be recognition of the sustainability of nuclear energy in the context of sustainable finance, green
mhm,
bonds, green, I mean, so there are steps that could be done in that way. Or are there going to be other advantages that exist for other carbon free
mhm,
technologies, like production tax credits or similar things. So I mean, certainly there are many things that the government could do in order to align I mean, again, so having the bill is very important.
Yeah.
The act is very important. Now the implementation, the industrial strategy that is going to help to implement it is essential. And as I said, the financial aspects are important. But then also there are other things that I think are very important. And perhaps we will hear some more about this. For example, reinforcing the industrial infrastructure, supply chains. I mean, India does have a very good supply chain, but clearly it needs to be strengthened and needs to grow. So it's incentivizing uh, elements of the energy supply chain that perhaps have never really played in the nuclear industry to actually understand what would it take for them to play in nuclear. Or workforce is another very
Right.
important thing. Obviously, to me, this is an industrial strategy, because it's not just nuclear engineers or nuclear professionals. We are talking the entire ecosystem of energy professionals. We are talking, yes, nuclear engineers like me, but also electrical engineers and mechanical engineers and civil engineers and pipe fitters and welders and project managers and lawyers. And I mean, there is an entire ecosystem of energy professionals that are going to really need to bring into this ecosystem. And of course that does require some I would say centralized or coordinated effort at a not only a national level, perhaps regional level, because as you know, there are other countries in the region that are also looking at nuclear energy. So again, to me, the Indian government is going in a fabulous direction, but of course, there is always more than can be done. At the same time, I would say it's not just the government, the nuclear industry, as Diego is saying, as Niraj is saying, we also need to put our, I mean, we need to start getting ready, investing in ourselves, putting in place what is necessary for when all these implementation rules are out there and done, we are all ready to go.
Well said. I mean, it really sounds like there needs to be a follow through, right? You know,
Exactly.
you've hit the ball. Now, that also gives me a really good segue to go to Niraj. I mean, when we're talking about international community, you know, how can they help achieve the ambitions in India, and more specifically, because I'm from Bloomberg, how important is private capital to boosting
Yeah.
the nuclear acceleration here?
Actually, we have to have a lot of collaboration with the international community.
Sure.
First of all, we are looking for a technical collaboration. We are not looking for a technology transfer.
Hmm.
We are looking for a technological collaboration.
Hmm.
The idea is that nuclear is a plant. You once you build, you cannot shut it down.
Hmm.
Means you have to operate for a period of time. Then after that, we have to continue to remove the decay heat. So what we want is that we should be partnered along with our international community, and we should become one of the player who will jointly develop, let us say, Generation 3 plus, Generation 4, and SMR technologies, so that we understand the technology and we are able to manage that in a very efficient way. Second thing which we want from international player is that regulatory interface should be more enhanced, because sometime we found, like in NPCL, when we were using the digital systems, our codes were not up to that. So a lot of resistance were coming and it was causing delays. Then definitely, as you said, finance is must. We want to become a part of the green taxonomy. We want to have the funds for a longer duration, 20, 25 years, at a very reasonable price. Because finally, nuclear, if it has to succeed, two things is must. We should bring down the per unit cost, and we should bring the plant in time. So for bringing the plant in time, lot of management expertise we can help take from the foreign collaborations. At the same time, we want our industry to be integrated with the world supply chain. Today, what we found that when these big companies are coming, they are saying, okay, we want to localize some product and you can make for the Indian industry. We want it to go beyond that. We want to say, okay, we'll give you expertise, and using that expertise, you can become our local supplier for the world actually. Because once we benchmark ourselves with the established good players, definitely our efficiencies can improve, our productivities will improve, our quality will improve. So we are looking at a different paradigm shift. We're not looking as a country which wants some technology. We want technological collaboration, help us in understanding the technology and integrate our industry with the world industry. Then wherever shortage of skill is there, you help us in building the human capital. So all these things put together may be useful for the, I think, for the world as a whole, because ours is a low-cost economy. What we produce at a higher price, we can definitely give at a lower price. So it will not only help India, it will also help the other countries in reducing their cost.
May I add some tips?
Yes.
Because Sam and Niraj speak about these challenges for India, but from my side, I think one of the most important challenge for us as well in India and Russia, WNA and Rosatom, doesn't matter. It's human aspect.
Sure.
Because now we have a goals, we have a companies, technology, and so on and so far. But we know when you plan, not just build, just plan nuclear power plants and nuclear industry, you need 2 or 3 years before to start preparing the personnel for it. I mean, the operational personnel, the guys who will build this. It's not just common people. It's very high professional guys who need not just mm, studying something in the university. In the best way, they need to have 1 or 2 years in like operational and maintenance and equipment service experience. So we need to be experienced. I say it about personnel because I think we need to start it to start prepare it now because international vendors, private company, governmental company in India were still cooking something regarding these goals, these numbers, and gigawatt, but who are responsible for personnel now in this case. Maybe you know in Russia we also have something like the same goals in India to twice our energy system, to twice our nuclear power plant fleet. And now one of the big challenges for us and where to find and to prepare the people for this global program. I mean, it's the same like in Russia and India. The problem can be same and the solution can be same. And today, India, it is focal point in case of human force, not only for India as well. I mean, India can be a point when this personnel can be prepared for all around the world. So India
Which
can be,
matches.
yeah,
I mean, that matches what
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
India
Yes.
cannot just be localizing; they could be
absolutely,
expanding
absolutely,
abroad. Yeah.
Exactly.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But I'm curious. I lived in Japan. I was covering the nuclear sector in Japan immediately after the Fukushima disaster, and there you saw a decrease in the amount of graduates who were interested in getting into nuclear power. Has that been an issue for Rosatom, for Russia, or has it not? Has nuclear always been something that's popular, and has it accelerated over the last several years?
That's a great question because I was born in 20 kilometers near the power station, and main part of Russia located by a power station, and they were built before our births. I mean, it's not the question for Russian people about the public acceptance of nuclear. It's in our culture code. It's normal for us, absolutely. When I went some nuclear city near in the middle of Russia, it's called Voronezh and Novovoronezh power plants. They have a pond near the station, and they fishing there. It's normal. No,
No,
it's
no, no, no. I
normal.
think that's
It's
great.
normal.
That's great. I
Absolutely,
mean,
it's great.
I think that's very interesting. Because the way that nuclear power plants are designed today, the water that is released is no dirtier than the water that's in a reservoir.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And when we have cooperation with some kind of our partners, of course, we invite them in Russia, in any type of nuclear power plants and cities as well around, and not only Russia, in Belarus, in Hungary, and other. And our partners see by their eyes that it's absolutely normal to walk on the station, to live near the station, uh, to construct all your life near the station. It's more than normal, absolutely. And the people, frankly speaking, the salary in Russia in the states near the power plants is rather high. So people like to be involved in nuclear industry in our country. It not only in Russia as well, in many countries when we build power station.
And so I just want to also toss that to Sama because you have a global context.
Right. Well, we have definitely seen a change in public perception, and
Yeah.
of course that translates in how many people may be interested in a professional career in nuclear.
Mhm.
So at a global level, we have seen much more acceptance, much more interest, much more support for nuclear energy in general, and that, as I said, translates in interest in nuclear careers. Also, I mean, I think there are two things that are new and different. So, for example, when we look at the younger generations, as they are looking at their future careers, many times, and perhaps I don't know that we were the same or not, but many times they are very, very motivated for a sense of purpose, right? So you see that many of these younger generations, they are interested in careers where they feel that they can change the world. And we have seen a lot of interest in younger people in nuclear engineering or nuclear energy, not necessarily engineering, but other careers in nuclear, because of that sense of purpose, that sense of changing the world. And then the other thing that I would say is exactly in countries where the government, well, whether it's national government or regional or whatever, when they have a clear vision, a clear signal that nuclear energy is going to be a piece of the future, clearly that gives young people or actually any people a clear signal that, okay, well, there is an opportunity for me. I could actually get a very good, rewarding, well paid, long term job. And that really gives them a good signal. So we have really seen that change. But I think that what Diego said is very important, not just with nuclear, with any professional career, there is always a lag, right? So when the signal appears, I mean, like for example, now in India, perhaps there are many young people that are considering a career in nuclear. Uh, well, obviously, it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years before all those young people are ready to hit the market. So this is why, as Diego said, it is important to plan about these things and to think ahead of that.
That's
And then maybe say one more thing very
Sure.
important. Another thing that we cannot forget is there is many people that are very qualified in other sectors of the economy. So like for example, in many countries in the world, we are seeing uh, workers that are working in the fossil fuel industry in coal, for example. We are seeing how coal power plants, coal mining, etc., are probably sectors of the economy that are winding down. I mean, in some parts faster than in others, but they are winding down. So there are enormous opportunities to reskill, to retool these people to join other sectors of the energy industry, including nuclear, for example, not just nuclear, but nuclear could be one of them.
that I mean, look at India, right? India
Right.
has an enormous fuel coal sector.
Exactly.
It's in no ways being dismantled. It's increasing. But Niraj, do you see a potential for sequestering some of that talent, or do you have to? It does have to be plus alpha. You have to add folks
Actually,
in that industry and folks in nuclear as well.
we have a vision.
Yeah.
See, you have to understand two, three things. In certain areas of nuclear, you need a deep expertise.
Yeah.
Expertise come by education and by working on the field. So if you need people for, let us say, reactor physics, reactor dynamics, so we are giving them 8 to 10 years by the time they are ready. If you see the full reactor, turbine island part of that, definitely we can get from the other industries, like other similar power plant industries, and we can retrain them to think like a nuclear engineer. But for the core nuclear thing, definitely we have to train the people. See, we can get people who are good in, let us say, mechanical. Now that nuclear culture has to come into that actually, nuclear culture is a different thought process. So we have to get the people, get them aligned to this thought process, and then we can give them the work actually. So generally at GSW, we are planning 5 years ahead. What we are thinking, our first construction will start 3 to 4 years from now. Already we started recruiting people, and already we are in touch with Department of Atomic Energy. We are telling them, you train them in your training school for 1 year, and then put them in your construction plants, your O&M plants, so they understand the dynamics of nuclear. Then they will come back to us. So already we are thinking a long-term basis. Like nuclear manpower need a lot of time to be trained. We cannot, let us say, pick up an engineer and say that tomorrow you work for nuclear. It has to be trained. A lot of hand holding has to be done. You should understand the standards. You should understand the implication of a small mistake which you can make, and to be very quality conscious, very safe at each and every steps. So we are giving them minimum 3 to 5 years on the job training after the education. Then only we will say that you are fit for nuclear job. That is our understanding.
I see. Thank you. I see that we're out of time, but I don't often get Rosatom on the stage, so I'm going to ask one very, very quick question to Yegor here. You're starting up nuclear reactors, Russian designed nuclear reactors in potentially Turkey, China, maybe more reactors in India this year. What's your global vision for Rosatom? Where are some strategic areas or countries that you're really targeting over the next decade or so?
Uh, of course, we have some formal strategic vision, some numbers and so on, but it's not so interesting. Our non-number goal try to find as much possible partners all around the world as we can. When I say partner, I mean the company, countries who are interested to build nuclear sector, nuclear industry in their country, and help them like a partners. uh, I'm very happy to hear from Niraj that they don't want to transfer technology. They want to
Right.
collaborate and establish something new, something local. So we are also open for it, and we are looking for such kind of partners and uh, partner countries to organize the nuclear industry in each potential region, each potential countries, and help them to light their bright, new, green, stable, and so on future. So this is the same,
All
like
right. Well,
colors.
thank you very much for that. I know we're over time. Please give a round of applause to our great guests here today. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, panel. I'll apologize in advance. We are waiting for one more panelist who will join us, and they'll join in between. Fingers crossed. Um, I want to kick us off by talking about the title, Advanced Drop-in Biofuels and Near-Term Decarbonisation, Accelerating the Transition from Mobility. It is an interesting topic because it's, in many ways, a really global topic. Airplanes go all around the world, ships go all around the world, but the solutions really lie locally. And production is really dependent on policy, local infrastructure. And I want to pick that apart a little bit as we go through this panel. This time last year was in San Francisco doing a similar panel, talking about Delta Airlines and some shippers. The answers would be completely different depending on what market we're in. So I'm excited to pull the parallels between the India market
Super.
and the global market with all of your experience. I'm really glad to be joined today by my panel here. I've got Esther Bajé, President and CEO of Novonesis. Welcome. Charlotte Morton, OBE, the Chief Executive of the World Biogas Association. We have Mahesh Natarajan, SVP of Fuels and Low Carbon Technology at BP. And then I'll introduce Deepak if he arrives, but before that, I'll keep you guys guessing. Do you want to quickly run through a sort of elevator pitch of what you focus on, and then we'll jump into the questions? Does that sound good? Over to you, Esther.
So what our company does?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting us today. I have the privilege to work at Novonesis. We are a biotech company. We bring through science and technology and scale-up capabilities, solutions inspired by nature, enzymes, microbes that transform the way that we produce and the goods that we consume. Our products, they touch every day more than 2 billion people. You don't feel us, you don't see us, but we are there making your life better. We're there on the yogurt that you ate in the morning, on the high protein, especially if it tastes and feels nice. We are there on the biofuels when you fill up your car. We are there on the detergents that you use washing your clothes at low temperature. We are there on enabling regenerative farms and replacing fossil pesticides and fertilizers. Every single point on how the woods are being produced or the healthier nutrients are being consumed, we are an enabler of that. We are 11,000 people. We have a market cap of 30 billion US dollars, and we're growing rapidly in a world which is need of new answers.
Charlotte.
Thank you, and lovely to be here too. So the World Biogas Association is the global organization that represents the biogas industry, as you can tell from our name. And fundamentally, our role is to facilitate the growth of the sector safely and professionally as fast as possible. The industry can recycle the 105 billion tons of organic waste that we humans generate every year, so, preventing 0.15 of a degree of temperature rise, but also releasing the equivalent of a third of today's fossil gas consumption, creating biofertilizers, and if we're successful, creating a very successful industry that could employ something like 10 to 15 million people. So win, 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 win on so many levels.
We like a win-win-win-win-win on many levels. Yeah, there we go. Mahesh, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here in Goa. It's a nice event. So my name is Mahesh Natarajan, Senior Vice President of Fuels and Low Carbon Technology in BP. I had a group of 300 plus scientists, chemists, and engineers. And the role that my team plays in supporting BP is firstly technical services to our refining and fuels marketing business, and ensuring that they are safe, reliable, and we also help them extract gross margin, higher gross margin, etc. And in the refining context, in the context of the conversation we're having, we provide support to our refineries to do co-processing of fatty oils and greases and oils from non-food-based crop oil in our hydrotreaters and hydrocrackers to produce renewable diesel and SAF. Um, Also, my accountability is technology development and innovation in the low carbon sector, which is primarily in bioenergy and hydrogen. Today, BP have a strong presence in Brazil, where we have around 11 sugar mills and sugar mills producing ethanol as well. So we produce around 1.7 million tons of ethanol in Brazil. And in the US, we've got a large biogas business from landfill waste. And we're one of the largest biogas producers in the US. So we provide support to those assets, but also looking ahead, we are driving innovation in future technologies for bioenergy.
Great. I want to start by comparing the market here in India to the market globally. And Mahesh, I'll start with you. That's right, BP, small company, small footprint. And biofuels, they're increasingly seen really as the most scalable near-term solution for decarbonizing aviation, shipping, heavy transport, almost everything that's hard to electrify
Yeah.
kind of gets this tag. Um, from a global energy company's perspective, though, where does India stand? Where is it gaining ground compared to other majors? And where does the opportunity exist for it to do better?
Yeah. Thanks, David. So maybe, I guess maybe first start with, I agree that where, in terms of transition, sectors that can electrify will electrify. But in the meantime, bioenergy plays a really strong role in the transition because of its drop-in nature, because you don't have to change the supply chain. The supply chain already exists. So every year BP produces energy outlook, and in the energy outlook, in the current trajectory scenario, we see about 45% of increase in biofuels by 2035. And if you look ahead, today's bioenergy contribution to the ecosystem is around 5%. And if you look at 2050, 8% of the energy will be driven by bioenergy. So coming to India, specific to your question, I think India is has already taken a couple of giant strides in bioenergy. The first one is bioethanol, and the second one is biogas. So I'll talk a little bit about each. Bioethanol, India, Brazil, for many decades has been blending uh, ethanol in gasoline and have pioneered that technology. But India has leapfrogged several countries in that sort of ethanol blended program that India launched about 5 or 6 years back, with the target goal of 20% blending in gasoline. And actually, congratulations to the sector and the government. India has already achieved that target last year ahead of time. Um, the other area, and actually looking at bioethanol in particular, India already produces 9 billion, blends 9 billion liters of bioethanol in gasoline, which is a staggering amount. And there is, more available ethanol for blending into gasoline, but also in other routes, which I'll cover in a bit. Biogas is the other area. The countries launched the SATAT scheme, which is sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation. And through the SATAT scheme, the government has provided the floor for CBG blending, and also kind of linked the CBG with the city gas distribution network, with a target of 5% blending of CBG in city gas distribution by 2029. And I think through that scheme, we've seen in the last few years a number of biogas plants being built around the country. I think the last count I read was 133 biogas plants across the country, which produces around 900 million tons of gas. So it's really amazing, kind of in terms of what the country has achieved. And actually, want to kind of maybe touch on that. Having a strong, robust policy drives these investment decisions. And I think, what the country has done in terms of setting those two uh, policies has driven significant investment in those two areas in particular. Coming to your second part of the question, which is what more can be done,
Mm.
I think there's more opportunity to kind of scale up. Uh,
Hi, no, welcome.
So looking ahead, I think I mean, Charlotte will probably talk about this in her section. There's more opportunities in the biogas, looking at accessing different types of feedstock, with different types of lignocellulosic feedstock, potentially even sewage sludge, etc., to produce biogas. And in the ethanol space, as the country and the globe sort of develops length in bioethanol, there's potential opportunities to look at converting ethanol to jet through the kind of alcohol to jet route, but also the country has opportunity to look at new feedstocks for ethanol, such as bamboo or other purpose-grown crop, which moves the country away from 1G ethanol to 2G ethanol.
Hmm. Esther, what's your take on it? Because E20 has been a roaring success, right? We've congratulated correctly where we have a 20% blend. Uh, There's a biodiesel blend target too, which has been missed quite a lot, right? So for a win, there's also a challenge there. What do you think about India's position versus other large markets and any learnings that can be taken?
Um, I would like to echo the words from Mahesh on, on, on the need and the value of embracing the bridge from where we are to where we're going to go. And it's a continuity, what we're talking about. We, coming from a heritage of energy that was mainly based on fossil, on coal and fossil, we're moving to the future where we're going to have a much broader, rich portfolio of answers.
Mm.
Well, yes, green electricity is going to be part of that, but also not decarbonization, good carbons as part of the feedstocks of the future. And this is the bridge that India has done a beautiful job maneuvering on. I would like to echo again what has been said and give my respects and congratulations to the government of India, to, to, to of course Mr. Modi, on creating a framework, holistic framework that gives reliability and trust on the forecasted demand. Because that's what's driving the investments. The technology is ready. Today, the green economy, it's more than a 5 billion economy. The solutions of based on sustainable and planet responsible alternatives for energy, they are already competitive. You only need the investments. And for those investments to take place, you need reliable, predictable demand. And that's what India has done a really good job.
Mm.
And it has done it uh, not only because it's good for the planet, it's for many, many, many reasons. The main one is geopolitical stability. It drives wealth, it drives jobs, it gives resilience from an energy point of view. Only by the ethanol that's been produced locally, India has saved more than $10 billion of importing refined gasoline. India has generated close to 2 million jobs, either directly on the bioethanol refineries or indirectly. India has created a consistent and more predictable income for the farmers, given also geopolitical stability. India has boosted holistically the economy by bringing the bioeconomy as part of the future. We in Novonesis, we're proud of being part of that journey. We, through science, through technology, through our enzymes, through our yeast, we enable those solutions to be even more competitive. And this is a journey that has been taking place through many years. We are already there from as you so nicely mentioned, from a bioethanol point of view. There's untapped potential on biogas, untapped potential on biodiesel, untapped potential on feedstocks for SAF from biomass. For that, to your question, what do we need to make it happen? We need, again, the framework of registration that gives that predictability on demand. And then you need the commitment from companies to continue to invest there. We are 100% in. India is a strong country for us. 10% of our people, we have it here. And we are committing to continue to invest. Last week, I was in Davos and we signed an MOU with the government of Mumbai of our commitment to continue to invest in India. And we see the potential to continue to unlocking and making those precious carbons from biomass into the feedstocks of the future, driving geopolitically, driving feedstocks based on homegrown solutions, driving local jobs, and then through science and technology making it happen. So I see a beautiful future ahead of us with just a matter of producing more, reliability of supply, and the competitiveness will continue to enhance.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a few moments' time, particularly reliability of supply and the technology being ready, because that's a huge challenge. And I think we maybe simplified that a little bit there, but we can pick it apart in a moment. I'm going to hop to Deepak. I'll introduce you first. Welcome to the panel. Deepak joins us from the Indian Sugar Bioenergy Manufacturers Association. Thank you very much for joining us. I have a question for you around taking advantage of the natural resources here in India. And Charlotte, I'll come to you after this as well. We heard from Esther a bit about the, let's say, the even energy independence that building out this sector gives India, and it's highly reliant, as we know, on the import of fossil fuels, particularly. So developing anything like this helps its balance of trade significantly. But compared with many regions, India has got significant waste and agricultural residue resources, lots of natural resources. How can these be strengthened to be harnessed and built into a robust circular bioeconomy where logistics and aggregation can be smoothed out, let's say, or improved in order to take advantage of this opportunity?
Thank you. First of all, my sincere apologies for being slightly late. It was difficult to reach here. It took some effort to reach. I'm so sorry.
I think everybody
Having
relates
said
to
that,
that.
thank you for having me in this panel. Uh, I mean, my fellow panelists have really touched upon, and as an industry, we take pride in India achieving 20% blending, and today we have the capacity of meeting almost 32% blending. So the problem today of is plenty, and as I just heard, the reliability of the feedstock is something which is of a concern by many, including some oil marketing companies in the country. But as an industry, as an investor, we assure that we have plenty, and the industry is continuously working on making sure that we have more surplus every year. For example, I come from sugar industry. Sugar industry for almost last 10 years have been in the surplus. So we only divert what is left after consuming it. So that means we are not getting into the debate of food versus fuel at all. And as the association, as the industry, we have been working on how we can enhance the productivity, the yield, and the recovery. So, because we have farmers who are small landowners in the country. We have almost more than 50 million farmers in the country who are involved in this. And they're small farmers, small landowners. We don't expect that the area will go up, but we expect that the same area they'll be able to produce more. So we are introducing technologies, for example, genotyping, phenotyping, how we can really work on new varieties, which will give more income to the farmer. They will be able to produce more and ensure the reliability of the supply of both bioethanol as well as the advanced biofuel. Having said that, your question is specifically and the agro bio waste. See, India, while many countries are struggling what to do with the bio waste, of example, agro waste, we have the capability and we have been showing in various cities that we have the experience of handling large amount of agro waste. So, for example, in the sugar industry alone, see how we are basically managing our bagasse, which is the waste, press mud, and molasses. 10, 15 years back when we didn't have the bioethanol policy, the molasses were actually thrown. So today we have monetized it. So we know how basically we can do it. But if we get into other feedstock, for example, rice straw, and we are basically there's already a Indian Oil, which is an OMC, has a plant here near Delhi, which is basically using rice husk into making the second generation ethanol. The problem is still of aggregation. So like what sugar industry has done, we are expecting that the government will come out with certain policies how we can really monetize our waste, do a complete sorting, aggregation, and handling and logistics. But I believe we have the experience in doing it. And for example, we are using press mud for CBG plants. Now we have almost 30, 35 CBG plants based on press mud. We are expecting that by this year end we will another have 50, 60 more CBG plants on press mud. So I believe we are on the right track. What we need is a proper policy guidance. For example, CBG has a problem of the FOLM, which is the liquid fertilizer. How we really are handling that? If we have the policy, the technology is there, the investment is ensured, but if we have the policy and everything comes together, I believe the agro waste could also be used for making advanced biofuel. So we are on the right track.
Yeah. Did you have a comment to?
It was maybe building on the food versus fuel, and echoing and building up on what has been said. It's not food versus fuel. It's feed and fuel. It's the combination what science and technology and good investments lead for. Today, thanks to the investments on operations and the new capacity design and the yeast and the enzymes that we design, farmers, and I'm talking now, for example, the farmers in US, they are, and the growing market here also in India, they enable 30% of their value, not only from the ethanol, it is from DDGs, from fiber that thanks to the innovations and technology, it has enhanced significantly the digestibility and the nutritional value for the cattle. You can replace 45% of the corn that the cattle use with those DDGs without compromising nutritional value.
So it's just a yield play.
What I'm saying it is you take biomass, you get fuel, and you get DDGs that they are feed.
Mm.
So it is not food versus fuel. It is fuel and feed simultaneously. And that's only possible today with advancements of technology that we have made. And this happened because, again, the predictability of the revenue.
Mm.
It's building exactly on what you have been said. The new strains, rice, bamboo, new molecules that will be the building blocks for SAF, they will happen.
Mm.
We can make them. You just need predictability and then be able to make those investments to get those returns.
Yep.
How does it sound, what I'm saying?
Sounds great. Predictability.
Yeah.
In 2026,
Absolutely, I agree.
predictability, I think everybody would say yes to that. Yeah.
And trust. It's predictability and trust. You also have to make a step ahead from a company to say, yes, I believe in it, and we're committed, and we want to make that happen. Here, it's not only from the governments, it's also the ecosystems among farmers, companies, oil companies, associations, that we have a responsibility here to create that framework to move it forward. I'm very eager to hear your thoughts
Yeah.
on what can we do to make it happen faster.
Yeah. Charlotte, we go to you because Deepak mentioned government policy around aggregation, for example, and clear policy and predictability being important steps to enabling and unlocking this potential. You look at markets all over the world. What is an example of a good policy in your eyes that maybe India could learn from and one that it could potentially export to unlock this?
Well, I think the interesting thing about biogas is that you can't really focus just on one policy because you're talking about a circular economy situation where the organic wastes that are the prime feedstock are being produced by and controlled by different participants. So, Deepak, you've just talked about the 15,000 farmers across India. Then there's municipal solid waste that will be managed by the cities, sewage sludge, industrial food and drink processing wastes. So all of these are in different places for a start. So just ensuring that there are policies in place that will ensure that those feedstocks can be aggregated and made available easily and affordably to biogas producers is quite important. Similarly, you need the infrastructure to ensure that the plants can be built. And then, of course, you need the infrastructure to ensure that the energy can be taken off and either injected into the gas grid, or where the gas grid doesn't exist, then it needs to be put into production of CBG and to a transport network, or indeed back into an industrial heavy user, for example. So I think the best way to achieve this is to ensure that there is coordination of all of those policies, and that to achieve successful coordination of all of those policies, it does require involving all of the relevant government departments and all of the relevant stakeholders, many of whom are not actually used to talking to each other. You know, farmers are not typically used to talking to biogas producers, gas grid operators, waste management companies, and there are a very large number of government departments. I think in India we're talking upwards of 8 government departments. Government departments in any country are have a very good reputation of not talking to each other and not liaising with each other. So that it is absolutely vital to find a mechanism to bring those government departments together and bringing all of the stakeholders together to really understand what's going to be involved in um, creating that enabling environment that will then allow the industry to invest. There is no shortage of investment. It is absolutely everybody understands how to put projects together. There are no technology issues. We've been anaerobically digesting organic material commercially for decades. So um, yes, the feedstocks here in India may be slightly different and there may need to be some adaptations. This is not rocket science. This is not the issue. It is absolutely the coordination of the policies that are required. What's what is really excellent here in India is the fact that the political will and ambition is there. So when I first came to India Energy Week in, I think, in Bengaluru, Prime Minister Modi stood up and made that commitment to build 5,000 large-scale CBG plants by, I think it was probably about now. So the ambition hasn't been achieved, but it is there. So it's we, we're behind on delivering that ambition for the reasons that I've outlined. Because policies today across India are very fragmented. There are state policies, national policies. Together, they don't all add up to allow developers to put projects together that can meet that financial close. And so that's why it's so necessary to have um, a coordinated effort
Yeah.
to bring everything together. That's why we've been suggesting that there should be a national biogas mission and a biogas action plan developed underneath that. The government succeeded before in solar and green hydrogen, for example, doing exactly the same.
Yeah.
So
I mean, a patchwork of policies is not unique to India, right? If you look at the US, you've got federal and state level, EU, very similar, even in the UK between the different countries. Is there a good example of where this has worked in another market?
well, I can pick up the UK. Obviously, I happen to be from the UK, but I was involved in the development of the anaerobic digestion strategy and action plan about 10 years ago in the UK. And it did precisely as I suggested. There was a government commitment to facilitating a huge increase in energy from waste through anaerobic digestion, which is quite unusual for politicians to be able to talk about anaerobic digestion in that way. But as a result of that, there had then to be a strategy to deliver that increase. And they did involve all the government departments, they did involve all stakeholders, it was challenging. But as a result, the industry then started to take off exponentially. So it was hugely successful. So yes, there is that example. And I think it's a really positive example to look at because it demonstrates that it can be done.
Mm.
It is really, we do know how to do it. It is really all about bringing those stakeholders together and creating the plan.
Yeah. I guess making it bankable for an investor to go in and build
Yeah.
out the plant. That I suppose the difficulty for the industry in general is it's so reliant on policy that depending on the structure of the country, let's say it's a 4-year term or a 5-year term, if the policy changes, the economics of your project completely change after a regime or a company or a party goes through, right? So it becomes quite difficult to think about how do you even do the math behind that, right? I do want to think about the future a little bit. We talked about markets that exist today. Um, every time I see an economic model where whether it's a BP outlook, a BNEF outlook, every industry turns to biofuels to the extent that I think we'd have to plant all around the world in order to meet this end use. So I don't think the sort of market demand is the issue. It's more about where it's best supplied, how you supply it, what industry takes precedence, for example, other alternatives and the merit order of where it goes. I want to talk a little bit about global markets and how India can continue to deliver um, near-term CO2 reductions today while getting ready for that next generation of renewable or clean fuels, clean molecules, whatever we want to call them. Charlotte, I might start with you on this one, and Deepak will jump to you afterwards because both on the sugarcane side, both on the biomethane side, they are kind of tapped for very many different end uses. And perhaps that's, I don't know if that's good or bad. It could be both, really, I guess.
Well, you're correct. It's a very interesting question. And so I think there's two or three things to bear in mind. One, that we should remember that we're talking about molecules and molecules that have can decarbonize particularly difficult sectors. So uh, it's a, we can only ever produce a finite quantity. That quantity will get more and more, but it still is a finite quantity. It can't decarbonize everything. So it needs to be prioritized for those end use cases that it is the only solution for. So, for example, in the UK, we've moved away from using biogas to generate on-site electricity, and unless you can find a use for the heat, and it's been decarbonising heat and transport, because long-distance transport, because there are no other solutions. There are so focusing on solutions where electrification isn't going to work. Today, there's quite a lot of interest from the maritime sector and SAF. So we that's where it needs to be sort of ultimately prioritized. Pricing will play a part. And so to answer your point about sort of, I suppose, that like economics of it and policy changes, one of the things that we've been looking at for some time is how sort of what can be done to ensure that the industry is not dependent on subsidies, for example, because um, our view is it should that this is really just a question of balancing the level playing field, and from a carbon pricing point of view, if 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 carbon pricing and there was a mechanism to reward project developers for the decarbonisation they're achieving, then there will be no issue attracting finance, because when we're talking about recycling organic waste and financially rewarding the prevention of methane emissions that those organic wastes will otherwise be achieving, then and given the differential between the impact of methane emissions versus CO2 emissions 86 times, the market should be pricing that in significantly. So if we can, you ensure that the carbon markets and biomethane certificates have the right carbon intensity number on them, then that will get the industry off subsidy. And ultimately, I'm sure that will then price in which sectors are most want biomethane or bioenergy.
It's a hard one, right? Because when you have to assume a carbon market works,
Mhm.
which yes and no, depending on the day, I suppose, in the industry. And then regionally, it's very fragmented too.
Mm.
Deepak, everybody has a plan for sugarcane, whether it's ethanol on the road or alcohol to jet in the sky. How do you prepare for tomorrow when making sure that you're still executing on what's needed today to decarbonize here in the market in India?
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy that we are touching on almost all aspects of biofuel, including advanced biofuel, specifically on the SAF. There is absolutely no issues in the technology preparedness. I believe technologies are there. For example, why bioethanol program succeeded? See, ultimately, investors need enabling environment. And why it succeeded? Because there was a guaranteed offtake by the policymakers. There has to be a guaranteed offtake. The investor has to be certain that the offtake will not vanish midway. That is number one. Like it has happened in some of the countries. We have seen some of the countries rolling back on some of the ethanol programs. I don't want to name those countries,
You can
but
name the country.
yeah, let's avoid that. Uh, then, for example, how India is a very regulated market. The center of the entire program in terms of biofuel is our farmer. It's the government who decides how much is the industry going to pay to the farmer. For example, we have in sugarcane, we have something called FRP, which is a fair and remunerative price, which the government decides on year-to-year basis based on the cost of crop and plantation. And it has to go up every year. So we can't really compare the cost of our product, which basically, for example, bioethanol or SAF, with any other international market because we are completely regulated. So our raw material is something which the government regulates. So the industry also expects that the product is also priced in such a way that it takes care of the raw material cost. And that is why government also decides on the offtake pricing. So demand creation, offtake pricing, and every ministry, every government, every department coming together, state as well as central, and then only there is an investor's confidence. And that is how the entire bioethanol program has succeeded in India. Similarly, we are now looking at a national SAF roadmap. And we are very certain that the ministry is going to come out with the SAF roadmap
Next year, won't
in
present
terms of
this already.
decarbonization of our aviation sector. I believe Corsia already has a mandate. Government has, international airlines have already started. In the sugarcane industry alone, we have recently conducted a carbon emission. Uh, what is the kind of carbon emission index for example, 1G ethanol, and leading to SAF, because almost 11 feedstocks are qualified for SAF. But the aggregation for other feedstock is a very big problem in the country. For example, cooking oil, it is not taking off. It could perhaps suffice my 1% blending, 2% blending. But if you want to go ahead to 5%, 10% blending, you will have to get into an alcohol to jet. We already have a surplus capacity of ethanol. So that is something a low hanging fruit. Investors are ready. So as I was just mentioning, the carbon emission index of sugarcane ethanol 1G is coming to around 14 to 16 gram of CO2 per megajoule, which is the lowest in the world. The Brazil sugarcane itself is almost 22 to 24 gram CO2 per megajoule.
Mm.
Corn is almost 60 to 65 US corn. So for economies who are basically, for example, Europe, perhaps prefer to have more SAF, which account for more carbon credits. So we are perhaps going in a direction where the carbon accounting principles are set in. We still have the mandatory and voluntary markets which are still working out. We still have, we're not qualifying. Japan has signed a JCM. We have already signed a bilateral agreement on carbon credits. But the technology is ready. We are hoping that we will be able to present our numbers to Corsia very soon. And once this is approved by Corsia, then we are ready to perhaps get into the export market also. And ultimately, what I said, the focus is on our farmer. So more value we realize it is passed on to the farmer. And as the government, for example, led by our Honorable Prime Minister, the main focus itself is how we can really enhance the income of farmer. And specifically also in this geopolitical environment, it's best to rely on own fuel, own food, and everything our own. So I think we are on the right path. Industry is coming forward in contributing in terms of SAF. Similarly, on second generation ethanol, similarly on other feedstocks, we are ready to get into the second phase of unleashing our biofuel policy.
Yeah. Mahesh, I'll go to you and talk about you have a global view at BP, and BP has its finger in many pies when it comes to renewable fuels. Um, I do want to pick on a point that both Deepak and Esther made around the technology being ready and available. And the technology might be there, but it's not scaling, and we're not seeing large amounts. If we think of alcohol to jet, for example, Gevo comes to mind, Lancejet, but they're very tiny in comparisons to co-processing in a refinery, for example, the HEFA process through a refinery. They're sort of safe, lower cost bets, so to speak. So yes, these things are there in theory, but they're not accelerating in any way fast enough to keep up with the new mandates and the guaranteed demand. And one of the questions every time I go to speak to people is, what's give? Is there not enough supply? Is there not enough demand? And a producer will say there's not enough demand, and a user will say there's not enough supply. And I think somebody here must be like looking at this the wrong way.
You take it first.
Over to you, Mahesh. What do you like? What
Yeah,
do you see?
no, thanks for the question. I think maybe to sort of set the scene. We believe multiple technologies and multiple feedstock will be required to deliver the demand for the future for bioenergy based on whether it's BNF outlook or BP outlook. Um, and I think, in terms of the scale up, let's take kind of what's happening in the short term, near term currently, right? And if I take one product at a time, for renewable diesel, we talked about biogas and bioethanol, so I'm not going to touch that again. For biodiesel or renewable diesel, as you said, co-processing and HEFA processing is really leveraging. If you kind of go back 10 years, it started in Europe and in the US with processing of waste oils, so used cooking oil and tallow. Uh, but there is only so much chips people can eat, and there's only 500,000 barrels per day of uh, accessible waste oils available. And we already do quite a lot of co-processing in our refineries, again because it's a drop-in feedstock to our existing process. We can put that into our hydrotreaters and the hydrocrackers after pre-treatment, and you get renewable diesel, SAF at the back end of it. But as I said, there's limited feedstock available. So what we are doing is we are accessing alternative feedstock, novel feedstocks. We've got a couple of partnerships, one with New Farm to access carinata seed, which is a cover crop grown in the fallow season. So it doesn't impact your sort of cash crop. So you grow the carinata seed, take the seed, crush it, and that becomes feedstock for the refinery. We also created a joint venture with Corteva, we call it ETLES, which is again built to access novel feedstock for co-processing and HEFA. Why I mentioned those is diversification is really important. Leveraging the capital that's already been deployed is important, and we think about leveraging our existing refineries, leveraging our existing hydrocracker, hydrotreaters uh, footprint to leverage kind of processing these waste oils or novel feedstock to produce renewable diesel or SAF. But that only goes as far, right? And then you need to look beyond that to novel technologies in the future, advanced technologies in the future to scale up bioenergy. We talked about 2G ethanol for gasoline. We've talked about biogas and accessing waste feedstock, but also purpose-grown feedstock as well to produce biogas from lignocellulosic feedstock. And looking at SAF, there are a number of different options, that are available. One is alcohol to jet, and I think alcohol to jet is kind of quite interesting because there's significant amount of ethanol blending in the US, significant amount of ethanol blending in Brazil. Now in India, we've got 20% ethanol blending as well. And I, we believe that the light duty transport sector will electrify as time passes. And as that happens, there will be length available in terms of supply of ethanol in the market. And there's an opportunity then to take that and convert it into jet for sustainable aviation fuels. And if you look further down the line, I think as green hydrogen scales up, there is opportunity to take CO2 from industrial waste or direct air capture, combine it with hydrogen, and produce e-fuels. But those are still quite expensive.
Expensive.
So in terms of investment, the industry will look at what is the most cost effective means to produce renewable diesel or bioethanol or sustainable aviation fuels. And over time, as technology develops and we invest in innovation, the total cost of ownership will reduce, and that'll kind of make it more economic for
Mm.
investments in the future.
Absolutely.
SJ.
Those are exactly the right words. Over time, we we have a responsibility to bring a narrative here and demystify some of these myths that they are not true anymore. It's not, we talk about, it's not food versus fuel, it's feed and fuel competitively and simultaneously. The green economy, it's $5 billion, and 50% of the CO2 emissions could be removed by solutions that they are already competitive. Still 50% they are not competitive yet,
Mhm.
but 50% are already competitive. And we have the responsibility to talk about the ones that they are competitive. Bioethanol to replace gasoline, it is competitive. In US, there is a mandate of 10%. There is more than 10% in the gasoline because it is competitive to gasoline today. It was not 15 years ago. It is today. And I'm inviting all of us to repeat that and to just move fast forward into the future of the ones that they are not competitive. Biomass into ethanol, it's not competitive yet, but it will be. SIF, it's not competitive yet, but it will be. And why will it be? Just because we've done it in the past and we are not done on the potential on technology. Only from an enzymes and biological perspective, if you look at the yield efficiency per cost, that ratio has changed 30 times in the last 20 years. If you look at the cost of batteries, they have reduced 90% in the last 10 years. Just fast forward 10 years on the road, and you will see that the ones that they are not competitive now, they will be. And the only thing you need, it's time. Time and the framework, the beautiful framework, like the one that countries like India doing, on step by step, bringing predictability, bringing the loop, closing many different entities that maybe they don't talk naturally in the past before, making that dial in place and moving forward to that demand, to that future. Because science is ready, solutions are there, they are competitive, and the demand is there. We need more energy than the one that we can supply today. And we will see that future that you were talking before, that bio-based carbons are going to be a stronger enabler of the future. We're also going to have decarbonization. We're also going to have green electricity. We're also going to have nuclear. There's many, it's optionality. We, Novonesis, we're going to make the bioeconomy competitive, stronger, and we're going to continue to work with governments to make it happen.
So just give it time.
Trust and explain it. The narrative that it's here, it's real, it's competitive. We have to stop talking about the places that it's not working yet and replace bolder and stronger where it is competitive. It is a reality. The solutions of the future, they are already competitive to the fossils of the past. Then we are replacing an ecosystem and we're growing bolder. We're growing twice as fast, the green revenues, as the revenues of the past.
And
Just
investment as well, yeah.
an investment in tech. So just take these data points and you close your eyes and you'll see when you're going to be 10 years down the road. And please explain it. We don't have to apologize. It's
It's
happening.
a shame nobody here works for a media agency that could, share this knowledge. We have run out of time. I have got many more questions I could have asked you guys, so I apologize for that. But thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Super pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Super pleasure.
लेवल या वैसे कुछ होता है?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Delighted to have your company on the second afternoon of India Energy Week. And what a day and a half we've had here. And progressing on that journey of discourse and profound dialogues is another one. We have another one for you. Simply put, as it says in the masthead, city gas distribution networks have become a key facet of energy needs and servicing energy needs in metropolitan areas. So we're here to discuss establishing global models for CGD networks. Now, let's take a step back, look at the backstory of it, and by most projections, whether you look at investment banks, multilaterals, economists, forecasters, everybody seems to think that CGD networks are going to sort of double in network within, say, a decade or so between here and 2035. So what's the approaching horizons going to be like? What sort of frameworks do we require? What are the challenges, the opportunities? And to decode, decipher that, we have an all-star cast of eminent industry leaders joining us today. First off is Mr. Suresh Manglani, who's the Executive Director and CEO of Adani Total Gas Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Gautam Chakrabarti, who's the CEO of Gale Gas Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Kamal Kishore Chatwal, who's the Managing Director of Indraprastha Gas Limited. Welcome, sir. Abhilesh Gupta, MD and CEO of Think Gas. Good to have you, company, sir. And last but certainly not the least, industry veteran Mr. Sandeep Jain is with us. He's the former Executive Director of Gas at Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Gentlemen, delighted to have your company. Let me jump straight into it. Mr. Manglani, I'll go to you first. Look, the stall has been set. We know about CGD networks, but just to kick off our conversations, how do you view the gas distribution network landscape, and what are your antennae telling you from what you view out there in the market, sir?
Thank you, Gaurav. First of all, thanks to India Energy Week for inviting Adani Total Gas on this platform. It's a very prestigious platform, and you have given us opportunity. Thank you very much. Now, from the city gas distribution landscape perspective, I think many things in front of us. We all of us are the beneficiary of this initiative, the transformation which we have seen in India. That entire India today, barring one or two islands, has been fully authorized by the government, the regulator. That itself will give you the perspective that what's the kind of a vision government of India or state governments are pursuing. So that is one aspect. Second, I think as we speak today, almost all the places, various large number of districts, maybe 780 districts which have been authorized, almost all places, different CGD companies which have got authorization are continuously working and accelerating infrastructure, and you are seeing several reports which are coming up is showing you very clearly that how the infrastructure, steel pipeline, MDP pipeline, or a CNG network or home connections are going up. Yesterday, Honorable Prime Minister also touched upon this CGD into his speech. So, from the perspective of landscape, I think there is a onus is now on us to make it more and more accelerated and successful. Policy makers are doing their job. They are continuously transforming the policy to enable us to deliver higher targets. From a global perspective, I think if you look at it, as the Indian CGD market has evolved since 80s, originally we used to have gas distribution network localized. Mumbai used to have the gas localized where the coal-based gas used to be manufactured and then it used to be supplied by Bombay Gas. And then Mahanagar Gas came, or all of us, many more companies came. Gujarat Gas is there. And you are seeing now the electrofusion MDP came in. That was one of the best practice which came from overseas, from British Gas.
Sir.
So India has adopted large number of best practices, large number of equipments originally used to be imported. Electrofusion fittings used to be imported, compressor used to be imported, boosters used to be imported. Large number of equipments were coming from abroad only. Slowly, as we have grown, the scale has gone up. We are seeing Make in India happening. The meters are being made, manufactured now. Smart meters are being manufactured. So I think industry is evolving at an accelerated pace. And now is the time
for even several parts of the world. And we are seeing, we are getting several requests, and every CGD company is getting requests. Internationally, people are seeking interest that whether we would like to develop the city gas distribution, replicate the example of like IGL Delhi, which is fully CNG city, or the PNG network they have extensively done. We have done in several other parts of the India. So I think now, in fact, India is being seen as one of the country where several best practices, whether in terms of conceptualization of a project or in terms of execution of a project, network planning, operation of the project, with several initiatives which we take on advocacy fronts or on the volume growth front. I think world is watching us, in fact, and they are looking forward. How do we replicate India's model to the various parts of the world? So I think from my perspective, I am seeing a very exciting time working for a CGD industry. CGD industry is responding to the policy framework which is being done, and we are also seeing whether it is MOPNG or the PNGRB regulator and state governments. There used to be a time when we used to push very hard for several policies and permissions. Today, largely, if you see state after state, because every state is looking forward investment in their sector, state, employment generation in their state. So CGD is one of the vehicle where state governments also feels that when we come in the state, we develop ancillaries, we develop associated and affiliated businesses around it. There is an economic development of a state. So I think CGD is now being given, if I may say so, that kind of a red carpet, that what policies are required for a CGD entity to come in and invest and develop infrastructure. So all in all, 360, I think it is a very positive momentum is happening on the CGD side, and responsibility lies with the CGD developers like all of us to continuously respond and accelerated infrastructure development.
Mr. Chakravarti, Mr. Mangalani has set the stall. We talk about economic development, we talk about supply chains. What is Gail's viewpoint? What is your reading, sir?
As far as energy landscape is concerned, I think CGD, as Mr. Milan has told, that it is taking the center stage now. And if you see in India's perspective, around over 20% is now is total energy consumption is through CGD, and we are expecting that within 3-4 years it will be reaching around 30% of that. And probably now it is in the second position after fertilizer. Probably it will be taking that position, center positions, or first positions within a couple of years time. So for the CGD systems, and as GAIL, if you see that GAIL gas is a 100% subsidiary of GAIL. GAIL has got 78 geographical areas, if you see. So it is a huge number of geographical areas which GAIL's JV group is having. And as far as GAIL is concerned, so our main focus is now is on the CGD, because the main focus area is CGD, and it is now growing. And as I told that probably within a couple of years we will be reaching 30% of the total consumption. So as far as GAIL is concerned, the main focus is now on CGD only.
Mr. Chitpal, if we look at if I may turn the question a tiny bit, this is in this industry is all about learning and teaching. So, what can in your considered professional opinion, what can India, teach the world as far as advancing C, and what can we learn perhaps from elsewhere?
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Gaurav. Fellow panelists, guests, invited guests, delegates for the conference, a very good afternoon, and a special thanks to the audience, I would say. That's a very difficult time, but I mean, they thought it very important. The topic is very important, and I must thank all of you for giving importance to this topic, and thank India Energy Week for a session on CGD. That's point number one. Second is that yesterday Prime Minister talked about the century belonging to India.
Sir.
And I think within that, the next decade is going to belong to the CGD sector. So why I'm saying that is that whatever success we have achieved within India, be it CNG, PNG, both industrial, commercial, as well as domestic. Now, what we are doing is going out and replicating the same success, as he said, Miglani Saab said, the success of Delhi and NCR region, we are trying to replicate to internationally to other countries also, because slowly and slowly, gas is playing a central role. If you look at next 10, 15 years or 20 years, major themes of the world, be it decarbonization, be it sustainability, be it circularity or affordability, energy security, in every aspect, the CGD has a central role to play. So that is what we feel that the next decade is going to belong to CGD sector. And the beauty is that the infrastructure, whatever is built, that can be used for the future fuels, be it renewable natural gas or waste to energy, waste to gas projects. So that can be used there. And whatever knowledge we have got, I mean, IGL, I mean, subsequent, maybe this next round, I will share some of the case studies that we are doing in our GAs, where, the future, what should be the vision of the gas-based economy that we talk about? What should be the vision of that, and how it is fitting into all the themes that we are talking about?
Sure.
So that maybe in the next round, but yes, the success of city gas is being replicated in the world, and shortly, I mean, we will be demonstrating that. I mean, since the tendering process is on, so I will not like to comment on that.
Absolutely. Mr. Gupta, if I may come to you, the Honorable Prime Minister yesterday and Minister Puri also alluded to the fact one very key facet of this which applies to CGD is that the price positivity for the Indian consumer is paramount. Affordability and security of supplies. Our urban centers in this country, perhaps the world, are magnets for attracting the human population. That to solve that conundrum, to solve the challenge of energy demands of some of the biggest metropolitan areas in the world, where does CGD figure, and what is your viewpoint on that, sir?
Thank you, Gaurav, for having us here. So we are the largest foreign direct investment, 100% foreign direct investment company in the country. And our focus is that when the highest level of the country is talking about gas playing a major role in energy security from 6 to 15%, it essentially means that gas is going to play a major role in urbanization, handling and providing the safe economical energy to the customers. It also plays very significant role in not only for providing gas to the domestic household industries, but also to the vehicles. Now, we have seen that wherever the percentage of gas in an energy basket is higher, most of the places it is used in power generation. However, India is uniquely placed where power generation is not happening in a great manner with the gas and gas remaining at 6%. But then we have a unique opportunity of CNG, which is playing a very major role. And we have demonstrated in the last 5, 6 years that when the CNG infrastructure has rolled out in the country, the usage of gas and the contribution of CGD sector in the overall basket has improved and increasing day by day. So we are uniquely placed, and this is the time when the infrastructure development has happened, and it is going to happen much faster. CNG can play a very wide role for increasing and immediately giving the result to increase the gas share, entire gas share. And once the CGD and the CNG plays a major role, it is of course rightly priced, fuel is rightly priced as well. It is cheaper than diesel petrol. There are certain bottlenecks with respect to taxation and the treating the fuel differently than the other alternate fuel which are dirty. But barring this, I think providing unique opportunity to India, CNG can play a very wide role and also make the overall gas much cheaper. Because if you are in a position to increase the gas quantum itself, the any additional molecule become quite cheaper. So it's very important that CNG should be promoted significantly Rest all sector, industrial, domestic, automatically will develop.
Ms. Jain, over to you. I'll tweak the question again, expand on the affordability paradigm by asking you, if you're talking about CGD networks being at the heart of consumer affordability, it also has to be, the operator has to make a margin. The operator has to find it viable too. How do we balance the need for affordability for the citizenry and for the operator to make the operations viable?
Thank you, Gaurav, and thank you, India Energy Week, and of course, thank you, the audience. I know it's very difficult immediately after the lunch to attend such sessions. Well, Gaurav, it's a very pertinent question to be asked today. Affordability is not only important to the Indian consumers, but at the same time, running a CGD company should also be affordable to the CGD promoters. It's very important for us to delve into this point and find out a solution for that, because unfortunately the outlook is bright, but at the same time, due to some confusion in the overall scenario of the policies and regulator, the development at the pace which is expected is not taking place. So there is much to be done. I would say the auction round is over. Now the execution round needs to start. As far as affordability is concerned, yes, definitely today with the APM cuts and all that which are happening, and that also are happening with lot of unpredictability. Sometimes you have around 30%, 30 to 34% only APM availability to CGD sector. Sometimes it goes up to 50%. Sometimes currently it is around 40%. So therefore, there has to be a certainty so that the rest of the gas which is to be procured by the CGD operator, they are able to, kind of plan it. And time has come now for CGD operators to plan it on a long-term basis. They need to adopt a very judicious portfolio approach so that, okay, 40% is given to them. What about 60%? You can't depend upon spot, because spot, there is a lot of volatility in pricing. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it comes down. So there has to be a very judicious, adequate, suitable mix of spot, long term, and even medium term gas, which needs to be, procured by CGD companies, so that they are able to, first of all, they are able to provide, there are three things. They are able to provide, number one, competitive alternative to the alternative fuels. Number two, they are able to provide affordable fuel solution to the consumers. And number three, they are also able to make good margins out of it. Because until and unless they don't make margins, Gaurav, then there is no point. I mean, the CGD development, which right now, I would say it is only 30 to 20%, 30 to 40%, which is achieved. It will never peak towards the 100%, where we want it to be there, because our honorable Prime Minister has already announced that we need to increase the gas in the basket from 6% energy basket, from 6% to 15%. How is going to happen? I mean, there are so many challenges. There are state policies are different, central policies are different. The regulator wants one thing, and the policymakers think about the another thing. Time has come that all the stakeholders, they need to sit together in peace and find out a very synergized solution. I mean, of course, during the course of the session, all the other speakers will also speak about what is required to be done. There's a lot required to be done so that we are able to really achieve and make India a gas-based economy. Thank you.
Absolutely. Eloquently put, Ms. Jain. I think one of the pressing issues that the audience have thought about, and some of the feedback that we've taken on board in terms of framing the dialogue is about what technologies can be brought to bear to make them make CGs more efficient. And another thing is, of course, the idea about regulatory frameworks and the sort of benchmarking and frameworks that exist. So perhaps, Mr. Gupta, if I may come to you, let's have a word on some of the technologies that have come to bear that are improving the efficiencies of CGDs. Is there any particular case that springs to your mind? And perhaps after you, perhaps an adequate question to Mr. Chatwal. But Mr. Gupta, let's start with you first, sir.
Yeah. So it's a nice question actually. So I have seen that when our promoters, one of the promoters are large Japanese utilities, and they have the technologies which is much more advanced than what India have been using, and also the other part of the world. What we have started is that whatever industry has been using, either natural gas or the coal or any furnace oil, etc., we are working with them to ensure that energy is efficiency is improved while the natural gas is used. There are several other wastages, the changing of equipment, the new technologies, everything we are bringing from Japan, trying to bring in Japan and demonstrating it by way of experiment
Right.
to some of the customers. And then there is a visible demonstration to other customers also that even if gas is slightly cheaper than your alternate fuel, then overall scheme, looking at the pollution level, looking at the other nuances of you being using the polluted fuel, the overall scheme you're still better off. So this is something which has been developed over 100 years by our Japanese investors. We are trying to replicate in India. A second important part which we have been doing is implementation of SCADA tech from the day one. Most of the CGD entities, they have gradually moved to the SCADA. Initially they started, but our company, every technological implementation has happened from the day one, day zero. We have a excellent control room. We see that each and every vehicle is movement is tracked. Every pipeline depth is measured, geotech. So this is something which is also giving us a unique opportunity to reduce our operating cost as well.
Sure. Mr. Chatwal, over to you. Any example from amongst your operating portfolio that you're really proud of that amplifies the efficiency argument?
Yeah, just to take from what Jain Saab said, that 40% is APM and 60% has to be sourced by CGD entities. So now what we have demonstrated is that it is possible to replace this 60% with renewable natural gas. So that is what we have done in one of our GAs, sir, which is running 100% on domestic gas, be it APM or be it the CBG. So that GA is Cathal, where we have integrated all three modes of evacuation of CBG, that is through cascade, MDP, as well as steam. So it has three avenues where it can go, and it is self-sufficient, and not only self-sufficient, we are exporting that to other GA because pipeline connectivity is there. So whatever excess is there, so that is going to other GA. Now, how we have been able to do this is that that's a agrarian kind of a GA where you have the agriculture waste, you have the industry, the distillery waste, the spent wash, and the press mud in nearby.
Sir.
So we can use that, and that is what